Welcome to United We Spay, the show dedicated to promoting affordable spay-neuter services nationwide. Each episode delves into the heart of the movement, sharing inspiring stories and driving positive change. Our goal is to raise awareness, educate, and empower, addressing overpopulation's root causes to ensure every animal has a chance for a better life. Hosted by Stacy and the United Spay Alliance team, we're on a mission to change lives. Fed up with the fixation on symptoms in the animal welfare conversation, it's time to change the narrative. Join us on United We Spay, where we make a difference by spreading knowledge and building a compassionate world for animals. Let's put prevention first and spotlight spay-neuter in the animal welfare space.
You're listening to United We Spay, a podcast from the United Spay Alliance. United Spay Alliance works to promote accessible, affordable, and timely spay-neuter services because an ounce of prevention today can prevent untold suffering tomorrow. Spay-Neuter, it's public health for pets. I am Stacy United Spay Alliance board member and host of the show. And today on United We Spay, we are talking with Cheri Storms, who is the Executive Director of Pet Friendly Services of Indiana, which is a statewide financial assistance program. Pet Friendly Services provides free and low-cost spay-neuter surgeries to address the root cause of shelter overpopulation. During her tenure with Pet Friendly Services, Cheri has helped grow the organization from a regional service provider to a statewide leader with the mission of dramatically reducing the numbers of unplanned and unwanted litters of cats and dogs. Cheri holds an undergraduate degree from Indiana University Bloomington and a master's degree in public and environmental affairs from Indiana University. She and her husband enjoy the companionship of 5 indoor cats, 1 community cat, and a rescue dog. Cheri, I'd like to welcome you to the show.
Thank you, Stacy. I'm happy to be here.
So our kickoff question is always, why are you passionate about spay-neuter, Cheri?
Well, it's because, as you said in my bio, it addresses the root cause of overpopulation. And that's simply where we have to start.
So for folks that might be lacking in understanding or, really just don't understand, do we have an overpopulation problem at our shelters? Do we have an overpopulation problem in our communities? And I hate sometimes saying overpopulation problem. What are the challenges, or why do we have so many extra animals out there? And we're talking cats and dogs. You're involved with both cats and dogs. And is it different for cats and dogs?
Yes, it is different for cats and dogs. Cats are incredibly prolific. And so they reproduce, I believe the quote is 45 times more quickly than humans. And dogs are also quick reproducers, but somewhere in the middle of that range. And to answer your original question, yes, we've got overpopulation in shelters and in communities. So we've got strays that need love, that need homes, that need to be fixed. And then we've got animals entering shelters, and the shelter staff are simply overwhelmed when too many animals come in without enough adoptive people to come in and choose those animals. And we know from history that we can't adopt our way out of a problem. If my neighbor has an unwanted litter, it doesn't mean that I want 6 kittens or 6 puppies. So we need to spay and neuter to dry up that source of overpopulation and to make pets happier and healthier.
So you have here that Pet Friendly Services of Indiana is a statewide financial assistance program. What does that entail? Are you a stationary clinic? Are you a mobile clinic? Do you have a voucher program? What are the services that you specifically provide?
So we are a statewide financial assistance provider. What that means is that we are a fundraising arm. So we're sort of like the United Way of animal welfare here in Indiana. We fundraise, we partner with vets. They agree to do surgeries for us. We offer free and low-cost services to the community and to shelters and rescue groups. So for the community, we have a $25 program for people who are limited income, and we qualify them to make sure they are limited income. That is really key to addressing shelter overpopulation, is to ensure that people who can't afford to get their pets fixed can afford to do so.
Yeah, I think that is a challenge there, which is, that access to care and affording to be able to get your pet spayed or neutered. I know that there have been conversations around, income verification. And it sounds like that you do income verification, at least for your voucher program. Is that correct?
That is correct. And so our vets sign up to help people that they know could not otherwise afford to have a surgery done. And so we want to make sure that when somebody rolls into their parking lot, that they are indeed in need of help and not somebody who's just looking for a good deal. So we offer that program. We open it every Monday morning, Stacy, online at 8:30. By 9 o'clock or 9:15, we are sold out. We do 100 animals a week through our program.
Wow.
And so that just shows the demand. And we know that people have gotten the message that they need to have their pets spayed and neutered. And we see that they do want to have their pets fixed.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard that before too. It's like, well, lots of people don't want to get their pets fixed. And I think that is not a low-hanging fruit situation. I think if the services are offered and it's communicated, throughout neighborhoods, cities and towns, people want to get their pets spayed or neutered. They want to provide for their pets. And it's just that it's not accessible because of the cost barriers. And so this is a tremendous statewide program that you are offering because you're covering the cities as well as the rural areas. Are there different challenges between offering services in different parts of the state?
There are. We have many counties that don't have a single vet. So if you have to drive 3 counties over to drop off your pet and pick them up that same day, that presents a giant challenge. So one of our vets is a mobile clinic, and we have partnered with them to offer discounts. So they go into counties that have not had vet services in decades. And it is a challenge, but we started a program in Southeast Indiana this year, thanks to the Joni Bernard Foundation funding through a generous grant. And we really anticipated having a difficult time getting up and running, but we were up and running very quickly, selling out most all of the clinics. And what we see is that people line up for an hour to check in their cats. So it's really encouraging to see how many people care about their pets, know that they want to do the responsible thing and get them fixed, and that they're willing to come out and show up and make sure that it happens.
Yeah, I think that is tremendous. I want to ask you specifically, what's the situation like for community cats and what sort of support does pet-friendly services? We say pet-friendly services. Does that include community cats?
It sure does. So of our free programs, we have a free program for community cats. So if you're a trap, neuter, or vaccinate, return program, we have a program where they can apply and receive 25 free spay-neuter certificates each year. And that certificate includes a rabies vaccination and mandatory ear tiff. So we launched this program about a decade ago because we knew that community cats were rolling into shelters and that 1% might make it out alive. Well, that's really bad for cats, and it's bad for the shelters. The staff does not want this kind of a nightmare situation. They want live release rates. They want happy stories. So we really incentivized the rescue groups and the shelters to start community cat programs by offering more of those surgeries than we offer for animals that are already in the shelter. So the program for shelter animals is 10 free spay-neuter surgery certificates per year if you're an animal in a rescue group or a shelter. But for community cats, we offer 25. And so we had rescues and shelters call and say, hey, you know what? We don't want to start a community cat program. We just want more of those free surgeries for the animals we already have. So we asked them, can you start a program? And do you have a volunteer? Do you have a trap? And have you had anyone call in and ask for assistance with outdoor cats? When they say yes, we say, you have the basis for a community cat program. Let us help you get that started. So we went from about 14 community cat programs to more than 100 around the state. And it's just made a world of difference for so many cats and the people who are looking after them.
So we talked a little bit about this before we hit the record button for the show today. You're talking about, how important it is to meet the need at the community level. Is this an example of one of those types of programs that you offer?
It certainly is. So, people think about shelters as the epicenter to animal welfare. But by the time an animal gets to the shelter, we've sort of missed our goal. So our goal is to get them fixed, to keep them in their homes, to keep them in their areas. If they're an outdoor cat being fed by a colony caretaker, and not to arrive at shelter doors. The pets don't want to end up at the shelter, and the people at the shelter don't want any more animals coming in through the doors. So yeah, meeting the need of the community to help the community get their pets fixed is really our goal.
When you have an area of your state where you don't have resources, don't have services, have you found, it sounds like you found maybe some individuals who were doing the assistance, trapping community cats or even placing kittens on their own, sort of on a very individualized level, trying to help create some collaborations in those areas to try and build programs?
Yeah, we do have a bit of that. Most of them are 501c3 nonprofit organizations, but we do have a few people who just come and start trapping, and we're able to help as funding allows. But we look for the nonprofit organizations so that we can focus our efforts on them. And we ask the people who are trapping to look up the nonprofits in their areas so that they can join forces.
Is it more cost effective to do spay-neuter versus trying to shelter all the animals? I know that, you're saying that there's overpopulation in the shelters, but on a dollar basis, on an expense basis, is it cheaper to go through and spay-neuter cats and dogs in the community versus having shelters take them all in?
It's absolutely more cost effective to spay and neuter than to shelter animals. So here in Indiana, our spay-neuter costs are less than $100 per animal on average. And then there's a study from 1998, a nationwide study that contacted all of the shelters across the nation and found that to shelter and place an animal was $450. So when you compare $100 in our current economy versus $450 in 1998, not adjusted for inflation, that shows you the wide difference in how many more animals that we are able to help. So for every one animal that would go into a shelter and be placed, we're able to help 5. And that really stretches our dollars and allows us to serve more animals.
I agree with you 100%. And it helps, just stop the birth of the kittens and the puppies and everything, behavior issues. There are just so many reasons why we should be spaying and neutering. However, as a nation, we seem to be tagged with this problem of a veterinary shortage. And Cheri, you are actually a board member of the United Spay Alliance, and you head up our veterinary shortage task force. Would you be willing to share with our listeners a little bit about what that committee is about?
Oh, absolutely. So the vet shortage task force was born out of the need to address this vet shortage. It started off as sort of a slow boil. We felt the vet shortage, but then bam, it was like a roaring boil, and we are in it. And so we're looking for solutions, and we're not finding anything in the near future. We have not had enough vet schools open. I believe that we've had maybe 5 or 7 vet schools open since 1980. The vet schools have not robustly increased graduating students. So we've got about the same number of vets as we did in 1980. Meanwhile, the number of citizens in our country has grown quite a bit. The number of animals that we all have in our homes has grown as well. So we really need so many more vets than we have. Unfortunately, we're not seeing movement on that. So we are looking inward to see what we can do to increase vet capacity. In animal welfare, this is so difficult because we're always asked to do more with less. But we are finding that there are solutions. Vets training vets on high volume, high quality spay neuter is one of those solutions. And so we are working our tails off to figure out what we can do to serve more animals. And all of that information is on the United Spay Alliance's website.
Yeah, we'll make sure we put the link in the show notes. But if you just go to United Spay Alliance and Vet Shortage Task Force, you can put that in the search bar. You'll find all the information there. And we have a lot of information on that website. We have worked really hard to offer some creative solutions, as a rural area and an urban area may have two different types of spay-neuter solutions needed. So trying to offer the tools and tips and suggestions as to what can be done in any community and can be created by any person, doesn't have to be started specifically by a veterinarian. The idea can be launched from the individual person, and then you're getting your team together, which would include a veterinarian, for the surgeries, but it's a collaborative effort and it doesn't have to always be, led by a veterinarian. So, be creative, think outside of the box, because that's what we're going to have to be. I believe it's projected that we're going to be faced with these challenges over the next decade or possibly two, based on what we've been reading on some articles through the committee. What are you seeing up ahead for the veterinary, as well as I'll throw the technicians shortage out there, over the next 10 or 20 years? Do you see any creative solutions?
Well, we do see some creative ideas, but we're not seeing them take hold. So, for instance, a lot of people are talking about, wouldn't it be great to have a mid-level technician similar to a physician's assistant in human medicine? So we thought initially, the task force thought that that would be a great solution, but we're not seeing the powers that be take hold of that. Another thing that we need is for vet techs to work at the very, very, very top of their field so that they can do everything in their power to free up veterinarians so that veterinarians can do what they are specifically trained to do and not have to do some of the smaller, lesser things. So we're hoping to improve efficiencies in some ways, such as those. But there are so many hands, so many people in the kitchen in this issue. I mean, it's the AVMA, it's the Council of Education, it's states that have practice acts that need to be open. And a practice act, states need to open those at the legislative level. Mm-hmm. And have commonality in what the goals would be when they open the practice acts that pertain to vet schools and veterinarians. So we're not seeing those things happen quite yet. So in short, I don't have answers for a decade or two from now, but we do know that it's going to be more challenging before the solutions come about.
Yeah. And it's certainly, I think, over time, as the pressures continue to increase for the demand for services, hopefully the pace of change may be a little bit quicker, because there are a lot of animals out there that need assistance and support. And today we're only focused on cats and dogs, but we're not talking about, rabbits. And that's a huge issue too. So there are even more animals that can be part of this conversation. But for today, we're just looking at cats and dogs. And, Cheri, you're doing a fantastic job in Indiana. Based on our conversation today, if folks only had one takeaway from listening to our conversation, what would it be?
It would be to help people get their pets fixed. So if your neighbor has an unfixed pet, help them figure out where to go, help them get there. We ask people to foster, we ask people to adopt, but if you are willing to help your neighbors get their pets fixed, I think that is just so huge. It's easy to do. It's so important, and it prevents a world of suffering and future problems.
I agree with you 100%. And if you go to the UnitedSpayAlliance.org and the donate page, there isn't even a way for you to be able to designate your donation going to a specific state to help our efforts. So we have a dream of creating wet lab training sessions in every state, as well as we manage the state leaders, which Cheri is our state leader from Indiana. So if you do want to support a specific state, but Also, support your neighbor, spay it forward and just help your neighbor, give them a gift certificate to a spay-neuter clinic and let them get their cat or dog fixed that way. So yes, help and support your neighbors. I think that's a tremendous idea. There is a way to help. There is always a way to help. Cheri, if folks are interested in finding out more about the organization that you run in Indiana, how can they find you?
They can find us at our website at petfriendlyservices.org.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining me today, Cheri, and thank you all for listening and tuning in. If you liked this episode, be sure to share and subscribe. We'll be releasing a new episode each month, digging into important conversations surrounding spay-neuter throughout the U.S. and around the world. For more resources about spay-neuter and learn more about our work at unitedspayalliance.org. That's United, S-P-A-Y, alliance.org. Get in touch with us anytime by emailing info@unitedspayalliance.org. Until next time.